Good afternoon, Crap to Cream. I am now doing little jobs. So I've started on the overhaul of the cylinder head for the 18V engine. I have fixed up the little panel in the radiator slot in Rose, and I have also taken on board a suggestion by one of the subscribers via a comment, because I was always resetting the clock when I turn the isolator off, and they suggested that I put a bypass on there with a low amp fuse in, which is what I've done. So I've made a couple of these up. So as you can see, I managed to find a couple of fittings that are the right size for the studs on the isolator switch, but being so big they didn't look very pretty, so I've done a soldered connection rather than a crimped connection, because I was always told that a soldered connection was better than a crimped connection. So there, and there's a 7.5 amp fuse in there and a weatherproof casing. So I made two up, one for Rose, one for Millie, so that'll fix that little problem. So I'll go and put them on soon. Don't know exactly when. So this is the little panel that I've been doing inside the car. So that's what I've done now. So I've taken the Glovebox MG sign, I've put that into this panel. This little red button here, that's for setting the clock. So you hold that down and turns the clock. And then this one's a double USB port. I'm not putting a radio in because I don't want to start drilling holes in the bodywork, really. And in my other car, I can barely hear the radio over the wind noise anyway, so I've decided to give that the flick. Anyway, yes, obviously there's a bit of a vacuum out because it's been sitting in the shed and the wind's been blowing, so got to clean that out. But that's yeah, that's the little panel. So yeah, close up of that. Yeah, there you go. So that's that. And my tapered reamer has arrived. So my parallel reamer for 11/32 inches. That's the right size for doing the valve guides on a 18V cylinder head. So I've done these, done this one. These are already done, they were fine. So they're all good. So what I'll do is I'll just set up you here and then I'll show you what I do. So I have some metal cutting compound here, Rocol, with like not affiliated to them, hasn't been given to me by free. It's just stuff that I've used for many years, and it's been very successful for tapping and all sorts of other wonderful things. All right, so I get my parallel reamer. I dip it in the fluid, then I put it in the hole, and then I just slow speed on a drill and just work it backwards and forwards slowly. By rights, that should be fine now. So give that a little wipe down inside there. A little wipe on there. Now it slides in and out perfectly. So this one's been done. So that one's been done. So they're all done now. So they all work a treat. So the next little segment I'll do lapping them in. Alright, so I think that's all I'm going to go and do for this little segment now, and then I will carry on when I'm lapping the valves in. I'll only do 1 or 2 valves, maybe only 1 valve, just to show you what I do, because I'm not going to put you through the experience of watching me going in and out and backwards and forwards with a drill with lapping paste. Alright, so we'll call that quits for now, and I shall speak to you soon. So Good afternoon. We're here in the shed this afternoon and we're now going through the valve lapping process in the cylinder head. So I've done 4 of them and I'm not going to put you through watching me do the other 4. So I'm just going to go through the process that I go through to lap a valve in. So I haven't, this is the way I've always done it. I used to, back in the 1980s, I used to do it with a stick and a suction cup on the end, but I now use a drill on low speed, and I'll show you anyway. And I also use diamond lapping paste. So I'm only using fine on this. This head's got inserts in it, so it's an unleaded head. I think that's all I need to tell you. I mentioned before that it's a racing head, even though I didn't know that when I got it. And yeah, it's been faced, so and all the valve guides have been replaced. So this is just a case now of lapping the valves in. So I've run the reamer down all the valve guides to make sure that they're all running, or they've got a little smidgen of clearance on the valve so it doesn't stick. And yeah, I think that's about it, right? I'll just run you through what I do. So here we have the cylinder head with said valves. So what I've done here is I've got an exhaust valve here. So as you might be able to see, I have put lapping paste around the head of the valve, and then I'll just feed it back in here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the 5th one. So put that in there like said. Then I've got this. So I cut the top off an old valve, and then I put a piece of hose on here with a clamp on it to give me some drive. And then I just push this over the end of the valve, like so. Give it a bit of a twist just to start it off. Then I get my drill, I put the drill on, and then I pull lightly, if you can hear me over the drill, if I pull back lightly and count to 3,000 in my head, and then I lift it off, and then I pull it back on again. So 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, off, back, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, off, 1,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, off, back on again, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Do that 3 times, then I change the direction of rotation and go through the same process. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And then go through the same again. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And I stop, I disengage the drill, put the drill over there, and I pull this off. And the reason that I don't clamp it onto the valve is if the valve sticks or anything happens to the valve, I can just, it doesn't overload anything, doesn't cause anything to gall up. And also the flex in this allows the drill to move around and yet not have a direct impact. I have seen people that they put the drill on the end of the valve, but wherever your hand is and however you pull can pull and lean the valve into a different position. So that's why I do what I do, and then I clean this off. And then I inspect where the contact area is. So I'm not sure whether you'll be able to see this, but I got the contact area is right bang in the middle of the valve. I've got a good grey lines all the way around. So for me, that is good enough. There's a bit of excess grinding paste on there. So there. So that looks good to me. And then what I do is I go over and engrave. So I go over and engrave the valve with my engraver. So this is number 5. I know there's only 8 valves and you can't get 6 and 9 mixed up, but I always put a little dot on the bottom. So there you go. So that's it. That's one valve done. So now I'll take it back and I'll show you. I'll clean the cylinder head up and just check the surface on the cylinder head. So that goes number 5. So that goes there. And then I clean the seat up like so. And I get my little torch, not so little torch, and I just have a look in here to make sure that it's all good. Which it looks all good to me. All right. Yep, looks all good to me. So there you go. That's the process that I go through. All right, so that's the cylinder. That's one valve done, and move on to the next one. I'm not going to bore you, as I say, with all that. So thank you very much indeed for the subscriptions and for the comments, all gratefully received. And yeah, I'll be in touch when I do the leak test, and then you can see what that looks like. All right, so bye for now. So here we are. This is part 3. All the parts have been cleaned up. I've had a couple of goes to make sure I've got my method and settings correct on my spring compressor. So yeah, all the valves have been lapped in. I've put all the valve seals on the stems, and I will show you now what's involved in putting the valve spring together with the collets and the O-ring. So you'll recognize some of these parts. So these are the parts that go on top of the spring. These are the old rings that came out of the top of the spring, so they're hidden in there at the bottom of the so you dig them out with a like a scriber. These are the new ones. That's what the new ones look like. Yeah, see all the stem seals on here now. So they're all done. These are the collets. Everything's been cleaned. I've got a new set of springs. So I've tested them with the old ones that came off the engine, and they're more or less the same, right? So I did it with a pressure gauge on my press just to see, you know, if they were similar or the other ones were badly worn or whatever, but they weren't badly worn. So anyway, I'm putting new ones on because I've got them. So what I'll do now is I will attempt to do one of these and hopefully show you how easy it is, or not. So these two, relatively straightforward. So anyway, so you put the spring on. So there's a spring on, there's a small shim plate that goes underneath here. So just show you that. So there's a shim plate that goes in here at the bottom. See that wobbling? So that has to go at the bottom of the spring. So then the spring goes on. The whatever you want to call that, the bit that goes on the top. I have then got the biggest of all screen compressors in the world, because the more solid they are, the less they bend when you put the tension on the spring. So see, that's it. You get your compression on your spring, put your O-ring on, which is like straightforward like that. Then I use a little scriber to get it out of the collet groove in the valve, but it won't work if it's in there. And that goes in there, push that in. That helps keep that in the center while you're working out what you're going to do with the collets. Then 2 collets go on here, so they sit in there. I do them at 90 degrees to each other because then less chance of falling out when you release the spring. Then you release the spring gently, like that, or quickly, whichever suits. Down, and then what I do is I give it a couple of belts. That makes sure that everything's seated and everything is as it should be. So that's what it looks like when it's finished. That's as easy as it is. So I put the spark plugs in now, so when I've done the other 5, then I will do a leak test, and I'll show you what the results of that leak test are when I've done it. So there you go. Yeah, spring on, put the cap on, or the top of the, whatever you want to call that bit. Then the O-ring goes on, and then the 2 collets. All right. And as with all engine stuff, cleanliness is next to godliness. So you just yeah, clean everything up, make sure everything's spotlessly clean. I put these. You'll see there's a little thing at the top there. Yeah, when I push the stem seal on, I'll take one off. So when I put this on, I'll have to do it with do it like this, unfortunately. So I push it in from the bottom and then keep those so that works on the top like that. Alright, push that home. That sort of holds the valve in place a bit. Alright, so that's that. So that's how you put the stem seals on. Then you've got the additional seals on the top here, inside this, and then the collets go inside here. Just make sure you put these on the right way up. You can not that you put it on the wrong way around. But anyway, there you go. I think that's about it. I'll stop waffling now, and I will put the other 5 on, and then I will go and get a bit of diesel, and I will do a bit of a leak test. Okay then, so I've assembled all the valves, I've got some diesel, and I've put them all in the 4 ports for a leak test. So the leak test has been on now for about 20 minutes to half an hour, and as you can see, there's no rapid loss of liquid. So and I have the ports facing me so that I don't have to go over the other side of the bench and try and see if anything's leaking. So if you look up, the reason I do this is if you can look up the port, I don't know whether you can see, difficult, dry, dry. It's dry there. That one's a little tiny bit of moisture in that one. So see that? So all the exhausts are really good. Oh, this is hard. Anyway, I'm sure you get the gist of it. Unlike when I took it apart, I put sort of diesel all over this, and yeah, within half an hour 2 of them had gone, so that's why I decided to do what I've done. Alright, so now I've got to get the diesel out of the heads, and we'll put that down as a success. One more job completed. So yeah, thank you very much indeed for subscribing. I think I said it as part of the end of the last video bit that I did. So thank you very much indeed for subscribing and for the comments. And I'll see what I move on to next. So I know I'm waiting for some more parts to do some other stuff, but I might put the big ends, I might put the crankshaft in and check the end float. So I'll put all the mains in, put the crankshaft in, check the end float, and I always do that dry. I don't do it lubricated, because when I've done it lubricated before, it's taken away any internal clearances, and I've ended up putting too big a gap in there. So what I'll do now is I'll just assemble it dry, check the axial float, make sure it aligns with the spec, and then yeah, put the crankshaft in. Alright, might see if I've got some plastic gauge somewhere so I can check the clearance. but I haven't machined the crankshaft, and I'm putting back the same size 20 under shells that I had in there before, so I shouldn't see a problem. Alright, enough waffling. I think that's it for now, so I'll speak to you soon, and bye for now.